I will not. There's a difference between struggling for money because things get tighter now and then being impoverished. I will not allow myself, and you know, we worked 2 to 3 jobs at different times. There was one time I had 3 jobs to get myself out of that hole, right? See, I'm 52. I can't do that right now. I did it while I was younger. I broke that while I was younger. And that's what I tell people when they're in debt. I say, how old are you? I say, go get you a couple of jobs. Start thinking differently. Well, I want to do this. What's more important, get out of debt or go to the movies? Right? So we get out of debt. And right now, I can't go get more work. My body won't hold up to it. So I got to move differently. I better hope I broke that in my life. Right? Yeah. I love the Lord. And I love you guys. Thank you. And I'm thankful for you. What a great crowd here this morning. If you were here New Year's Eve, you got treated to one of the best parties. A lot of people were involved in this party. But it's like the brainstorm of Mike and Allison. And we were a little nervous about it, Mike and I were, when we were planning it one year, because it was over breakfast. We was like, we need to mix this up. We need to do something so fun. And then we got scared the first year. We did. We formed it all up. Mike had these ideas, and we were going to do it. We were going to be bold and brazen and everything. But when it come down to it, we were just scared of the religious folk.
I'm scared this year, too. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I've done been hammered this year. I ain't even said anything. It's like, y'all did what? That's not very spiritual. I say teaching people how to live life is absolutely spiritual. Because that's one of the things the Bible says is separate you from the love of God. He said nothing will separate you from the love of God. Then he says life, death. So life itself can, but he said it won't if you stay in the love of God, right? So anyway, we had an amazing contest. I don't know who all won what. But I know who the first place prize was.
That was the only
That
one.
was Isabella. Come here and get your $100. She looked fantastic. You did good. She did good. We dressed in the roaring 20s. So this is the roaring 20s we're in right now. And she did so good. I mean, I was just amazed at the party. Christy and I, like every year, we left a little early before the New Year's itself, and we got home. I crawled out, I danced, and I was so limber. I just told her when I left, I said, I haven't danced long enough to get limber in years. I said, I was doing moves because I was so limber, and I'd done warmed myself up, but by the time I drove from Roland to Muldrow and I went to get out of the van, I was like, oh God! And we were barely getting inside the house. And the next morning I woke up at 7 something. I was like, oh, Jesus, please help me. So, and all through the night when I turned, I moaned. But I had so much fun. And we want to thank all of those that labored, and for Mike and Allison for their brainstorming and their dream of it. I just want to give everyone a hand. So let's just do that. All the hard workers, all of those who made it possible. Because I'm going to say this, even though I love Mike and Allison, I'm going to say this. Their dreams could not have come true without all the help. Can't do it. You can't do what we do without help. Right? You can't do it. You can't have a successful marriage if one person's trying. You got to have both of them pushing together. Right? So it's a good thing. So I'm going to get busy because it's like 11:41. And I'm on a New Year's resolution of, one closing. And so we're going to get busy with it. Robert brought a great word in small group this morning. Wow. It was so good. I love the comments, too, of the people that was there and coming and some of the things they say. I'm going to say this because she made it public, but Tricia is fighting cancer. And we are going to believe God that Tricia's cancer is going to die, right? And we're going to pray for strength for her, not only in your body, Trish, but in your mind. Because I find after 33 years of pastoring that sickness has a way of messing with your mind while it tries to destroy your body. And so the success that we've had is
to pray for people's mind, and being around your tribe is what sometimes when you don't feel like fighting, we'll fight for you. And we want to do that. And I don't want sympathy for Trish. I want us to be bold and strong and decree the word of the Lord for her. And Trish, Gary, raise your hand. Gary has fought that and come through. Of course, his wife, I'm going to say this, she was poking the right foods in his mouth. She was doing all this stuff, praying for him and lifting him. And Gary, I believe you really possess something in your spirit that after you overcome something, you have a certain authority in it. And you know, people's like, well, how am I overcome? Well, we're not dead yet. We're still living. So we carry a certain authority with some things. So, I mean, you know, I remember this. I'm going to say this. Remember when Michael Jordan developed HIV? Everybody was like, before that was like a death sentence. Magic Johnson. Thank you for clearing that up. Magic Johnson, yeah. Excuse me, Michael Jordan. So when Magic Johnson developed HIV, the first thing they did was he quit playing sports because they didn't want him touching anybody and cutting himself. And all of these things started happening. And then the phobias of all of that disease and the death sentence it carried and all of that. But all of a sudden, he used his star power and he used himself. And all of a sudden, we had a breakthrough. Now people, they're living with it, but they're not dying like they were. So what am I trying to say is, there is a cure, but there's also prayer. And sometimes both of them together, God tends to bring us into great health. So we want to continue to pray and believe that. So Gary, if any time, you know, especially we want you to pray with Trish, if you just lay your hands on her, you and Nancy, okay? And believe God for her. So let's get to it, all right? Robert taught a great one this morning. The worship is always powerful. We thank God for you. We're pressing into this new year already. Things are going to be different this year than what they were last year. Look at somebody and say, I hope so. I don't want a repeat of 19. It was a great year in aspects, but it had its horrible things. We learned things from it, and we moved forward. But you will repeat your last season without a new mindset. A new year doesn't change anything. The clock changing doesn't change nothing. It just means you got older and you're still carrying the same mindset. What changes is when you change. You are literally the agent of change. Them raising your electric bill did not cost you to do anything. It revealed something in you. That person breaking up with you did not change you. It revealed something in you. That betrayal, that moment revealed something in you. That hardship revealed it. It didn't create it. It revealed something that was there. And then we choose to magnify that thing, or we become defined by the thing that we are encountering at the moment. I don't know about you. I'm never defined by my temptations. I'm always defined by what I embrace, by my passions. And so that's very important for us to understand. So I'm going to give you a history lesson before we go any further. I want to show you something. And in Scripture, we're going to talk about a guy named Caleb today. And I love this story. And I looked this up many years ago, and I've always kept it close to me because I've got a lot of friends that didn't know their parents, or they were adopted, or things happening. And when I found this in Scriptures, it just really set a pin in my heart. And it caused me to understand that it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters where you're going. In other words, let me say this. I don't need to hang around people who validate my fear. I need to hang around people who speak to my destiny. Oh, can I say that again? I don't need to hang around with people who validate my fear or the things I fear. I need to hang around people who speak to my destiny. So Caleb was a man, he was a Kenizzite, the Bible said. And Kenizzites were a clan who lived in Canaan just outside of the Israelites. And what they did was Abraham literally made covenant with them and kind of took them in a little bit, but they still lived in the land of Canaan. And you'll only find this in one time in the scripture. It said that Caleb was a Kenizzite, and it named his father. And a Kenizzite was not of the tribe of Israel, but they had made covenant with them. So Israel brought them in to their family. And so they lived in the land of Canaan. So when Israel went into captivity for 400 years under Pharaoh, the Kenizzite people were still living over here in the land of Canaan. But when Israel came out of Egypt and started going into the land of Canaan, it picked up a straggler, a young boy named Caleb. And Moses connected Caleb to the tribe of Judah. And after that moment, Caleb was not only a Kenizzite, but he was of the tribe of Judah. Look at for yourself. Because the spirit of adoption is greater than the spirit of the orphan. The spirit of adoption brings us in and says, now you have access to things that you did not have before, but now you get to move freely in it. You're still this person. You have this legacy, but we're joining your legacy to this promise. And you're able to move ahead. So everybody caught that? So we're going to talk about a guy today who came from a tribe that should have been destroyed, but they were smart enough, their leaders were smart enough to make covenant with Abraham. And when they came under covenant, they came under God's protection, and God hid them in the land of Canaan that ate its people and hid them until the time was right, because hundreds of years later, there was going to be a man named Caleb that had a great significance to the Lord. All right? Somewhere in your bloodline, somewhere in you, you could be the one that God is saying, there is something in your bloodline, there is something in you that I am wanting to do in this present time that will change your entire generation. Sometimes just hanging around the right people will shift your destiny. Right? Why is church important? Hanging around the right people shifts your mindset. It shifts it. And when I want to feel sorry for myself, I hang around people who validate that. But that never helps me. There's certain types of people in your life. There are people who hate you, who try to destroy you. There are people who don't believe in you. There are people in your life who believe in you, but have nothing to help you with. How many's ever had those people? I believe in you, they're connected to you, but they end up sponging off you because they have no hope for themselves and they cannot help you move forward. Right? I've got people like that in my life. They love me, they believe in me, but they cannot help me move forward. And then I have people in my life that God has positioned that believe in me, but they also have a tool of knowledge to help me move forward in my life. So I have to decide which group of people am I going to allow to have the greatest influence in my life. Come on, somebody. So Joshua 14:6 says, then the children of Judah came unto Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, and you'll see that only a couple of times, but the Kenizzite said to him, you know the thing that the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, concerning me. And there in Kadesh Barnea, yes. 40 years old was I when Moses, remember this, 40 years old was I when Moses, servant of the Lord, sent me to Kadesh Barnea to spy out the land, and I brought him a word as it was in my heart. Nevertheless, now you notice that? He said, he's not even talking about Joshua. He said, I brought Moses the word that was in my heart. He sent me out. I brought him the word that was in my heart. All right? Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt. Listen to that. There are people who ignite your flame, and there are people who cause your heart to melt and to shrink away. They're all good people sometimes, but there are people who speak to your fear, and then there are people who speak to your promise. He said, I went up with my brethren, and they caused the heart of the people to melt, but I wholly followed the Lord. What, did you hear that? Someone needs to listen to this. I wholly follow the Lord. He said I was connected to people that I had an assignment with, but their heart was not wholly committed to the Lord. And people who are not committed to the Lord, remember last week, the Lord said, I don't want you hot or cold. He doesn't do that because He's mad at you. He does that because He tells us He wants us hot or cold, not lukewarm, because our mind tells us, I'm trying. Even when you know you're not putting a full passion into it, your mind is telling you, I've done this for 10 years and I can't break through. I can't do it. See, your mind, God knows that if you do, you're either hot or cold. Now watch this. I've never seen anyone that said, I want to do something wicked, that had any trouble completing the task, because when they want to do it, they finish it. I had a guy one time, I worked by the phone at the plant. How many remember pay phones? I worked by the phone at the plant, and I'd watch this guy. That's how I got to know him. He kept going in there about every 30 minutes making a phone call. And he would stand there, and some days he would like beat that receiver up against the thing, and I would see him sit there and lament, and I was like, wow. And I was like, how's this guy doing his job? And so after days and days of this and watching him, finally one day he's just lamenting there, and I come up to him, I say, Ron, are you all right, man? What's going on? And he's don't want to tell me at first, but he's like, I don't know what she's cheating on me or something. I don't even know what. I mean, blah, blah, blah. I'm calling her. I said, dude, you're like in here every 30 minutes. And he's like, I know. I mean, she tells me she's not doing anything, but I know she is. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, my God. I said, you're driving yourself crazy, first of all. I said, you're going crazy over this. I said, you need to back off. He said, well, if I don't call. I said, listen, dude, she could be cheating on you while you're calling. Or if she's not cheating on you, you could plant that thought in her mind. You need to back off. And so the long story of short is this. She was cheating on him, and while he was calling, dude was there. And here's the story. If you want to do something wrong, you'll find a way to do it. But most people struggle when it comes to doing right things. When we want to do wrong, hell can't stop us. But when we want to do right, drizzled rain keeps us down. Come on, somebody. You know I'm telling the truth. Because we're more geared to press in when it comes to something our heart burns for than what our heart needs. So it's all in who we surround ourselves with. So he said, nevertheless, my brethren went up with me, and made the heart of the people melt. But I wholly followed the Lord. Remember that. God wants you hot or cold, not for His benefit, but because He knows that if you're half-hearted, your mind's telling you, I've done this for 10 years and nothing's happened. And you will not tell yourself that you've been half-hearted. You've been halfway doing it. Come on. That's good. I followed the Lord. Verse 9, and Moses sware on that day, saying, surely the land where your feet trod shall be your inheritance, and your children's forever, because you've wholly followed the Lord. You get it? He says it again. He said, I'm going to do this because you wholly followed me. Now, I'm going to say this. There are certain things that we have because Jesus did it. You'll never take away salvation. You'll never take away grace. You'll never take away the fact that He can forgive your sins and wash them away like you never did it. But here's one thing you will. If you will not inherit your land, you will not possess the gates of the enemy, you will not see generations saved if you do not fight for it. Come on, someone. There's things that Jesus did that cannot be reversed. But we are the ambassadors of Christ, the Bible says, in the earth. And if we do not possess the land and possess our homes and possess our souls, we will not possess the promise. All right? And now, behold, the Lord kept me alive. Watch that. The Lord kept me alive. Is everybody listening to this? Someone needs to listen. The Lord kept me alive. As He said, these 45 years ever since the Lord spake this word to Moses. So 45 plus 40. Caleb was 40 when he came into the land. He's 45 years later. He's 85 years old. And he said, the Lord kept me alive these 40 and 5 years since he spoke the word while the children wandered in the wilderness. And man, I this day 85 years old, and I am as strong this day as the day that Moses sent me. And my strength was then, so is my strength for now to war, to go out, and to come in. Did you just hear that? We're told the older you get, you're dying, when in fact, the older you get, you're getting closer to eternity. You're getting closer to everlasting life. So really, we're not dying. We have convinced ourselves we're dying, but we're coming to eternity. What was the key to Caleb saying, God kept me alive until I possess that promise? He said, I am warring, I'm strong to war, I'm strong to go in, I'm strong to come back, and I'm going to possess my land. His fire kept him young and strong. He said, I will not die until I possess what God says is mine. Oh. My father was having an attack on his bed about 30 to 40 years ago, and we knelt down, we got called, and we ran over there, and we thought he was having a heart attack. And he was laying there, and I was praying over him, rebuking death, and the Lord said, why should I spare him? And I was sitting there like, oh, he's my dad. And the Lord said, why should I spare him? And all of a sudden something came up in me, and I said, because he stands by me in the ministry. Because he believes in me. He pushes me forward. I need him. I said, there's no one in this church helping me like he does. I need him. And you know what? He rose up off of that bed. Come on, someone. When he went in for heart valve replacement, and they said he had like a 5% chance to live, he was driving down. I said, you remember when you nearly died on me? He said, yeah. And I said, I bind you to life right now. I ain't done with you yet. We got some things to finish in the kingdom. So some of y'all need to quit trying to die, and you need to bind yourself to the promise and bind yourself to what God said and curse yourself away from the death and destruction that's in your life. Caleb said, I'm going to bind myself to life until I walk into that promise. I'm going to come into it. So help me God. He said, I'm young to war. Don't forget to war. I mean, I'm a lover, but I like a good fight too. Right? This guy did something to me a while back, jumped out of his car, and they was going to jump on me, and I just slid out of mine because, I mean, I ain't going to sit there and take it. I'm a little old. But he stood there and he got out of his car, and I looked at him, and there's a big one sitting over there on the far side. And he got out of that car and he looked at me, and I said, I want to tell you something, boy. I said, I've ate people like you for breakfast. And he looked at me, and that boy laughed, and I said, I'll get you for snack. They just didn't know what to say. But I knew one thing, I wasn't going to take it lying down. You know what? We need to fight to come up inside of us every now and then. We need to war. You need to cast off what's happening to you. You need to stand up and say, I'm not going to take this. I'm going to fight until I see it. You can't love your way into promise. You got to fight for it. Because there's stuff out there trying to kill you. You got an enemy. You can't love the devil. You got to fight him. He said, I'm young, I'm strong. It's the day Moses sent me. My strength is then and still now. Therefore, give me this mountain where the Lord spoke that day. For you heard in that day that the Anakims were there, how the cities were great and fenced. Now, I'm going to say this. The Anakims, how many know who they were? They were the seed of the serpent, Goliath's brothers. Nephilim, half man, half fallen angel. Come on, somebody. Boy, I felt the anointing in my hand. Half man, half fallen angel. There was a tribe of Nephilim there, positioned right up on that mountain Caleb was promised. And he had walked around it for 40 years helping everybody else get theirs. I'm going to say this. Sometimes you got to help everybody get theirs. But when God gives you yours, you're going to act like it never was put off. You're going to come into it and own it. If you can't back another person's vision, you'll never get yours. You'll never come into yours. And I like what Matthew Stevenson said. We raise people to be entrepreneurs. We prophesied entrepreneurship in the church. Not everybody's supposed to own a business, ladies and gentlemen. There are people with great help gifts, but they will fail in a business. Hello? We've raised people up to where everybody's their own boss, and now no one wants to follow anybody. And we're all mad because we can't make it happen. Listen, there are gifts in this world that we get behind. A friend of mine, he was struggling financially, but he's a great entrepreneur. And I have a gift. I'm just going to say this, and I'm not boasting, but I have a great personality, ladies and gentlemen. God has given me, I can honestly stand in front, I'm a people person. I am, man. I have that gift. And when Jared hired me, he said, we're $18,000 in a hole at this account, and we're drowning over this gym. I don't know what to do. So I walked in. First thing I did, I sat down and got rid of all the power lifters and all the grunting and the doping and all of this kind of stuff. And I opened that up for family, and I started pulling community in. Not only did that gym come up, it came out of the hole, but it was a surplus and funded this one. It made him rich. I looked at him one day, and he said, you're making me a rich man. I said, I am here to make you wealthy. But you know what? I never had to worry about anything. I looked up, there was extra in my paycheck. He gave me clothes, he gave me place, he gave me favor. He asked me, I want to tell you something, I just kept going up. Come on, someone. He said the Anakims were there, and their cities were so great and fenced. And if so be the Lord's with me, then shall I be able to drive them out. Isn't that a big statement? He said, I'm looking at people who's 13 to 15 feet tall, and I'm going to drive every one of them out. My cousin's brother's sister's brother killed one of them. You know, y'all use that in Oklahoma. Everybody's like, you know, Pretty Boy Floyd's grave's out there at, 101 Highway. Yeah, I'm kind of kin to him through my brother's, sister's, cousin's, friends. You know, y'all's like, yeah. He looked at those tall giants, those spiritual Nephilim that were designed to cut Jesus out of the lineage, and he said, I'm going to take my mountain because my mountain, they're inheriting, and I'm not going to let them have it. This is the land I spoke out. I want to tell you something. If you want something, you got to go after it. We were laughing last night, Christy and I we were watching a movie, and this guy just grabs this girl and lays one on her. I mean, just... And I looked over there at her and I said, you remember when I first met you, you were sitting there mad over something. I just grabbed you up and kissed you good and just smoked one on you real fast. And I said, the rest is history, baby. And she said, oh, God. But I'm going to say this. Sometimes your passion every time will get you in a door that should have been closed to you. How many's wanting to hear that? I want to tell you something. I acknowledge all gifts, but people who are entitled and half-hearted, I'll let you set, and I'll pull to someone that has more passion every time. Because passionate people, they might not do it like we all want it to be done, but they will be faithful. Come on. How many know that's the truth? Caleb reminds Joshua of God's promise. Caleb was 40 years old when God promised and 85 when he took possession. 40 years because of unbelief and 5 years of war. Wow. Tell me who you hanging around with don't matter. Caleb and Joshua were the two that came back and said, go up at once. They believed God and desired to take what God had for them. So what happened? They were connected to great unbelief. They were given the promises when they delivered the children of the generation that didn't believe. Do you get that? They had to deliver the children of the generation of the ones who didn't believe. Remember, all of those people died off, but Caleb and Joshua. And they delivered the children of the people who didn't believe. People you connect with are important. They produce an atmosphere for encounter or an atmosphere of unbelief. Caleb's future was connected to his ability to stand firm in his promise and deliver that promise into the hands of those that it came from generations of unbelief. See, sometimes to get where you're going, you have to break other people free. Because this is not just about you. When it becomes about you, you will self-destroy. You will self-enclose. You will withdraw yourself and become offended. When it becomes about you, watch out, offense is there. Because when you lose sight of your mission to free others to get your promise. Now, I'm not talking about a new car. I'm not talking about a boat. I'm not talking about a bow or a boo. I'm talking about the kingdom promise of heaven. If you will get your eyes on Jesus, and while you're going, deliver people along the way, you will walk into your fullness, and your fullness contains a significant other. It contains transportation, finances, wealth, security, and hope. But if you run after that, you will become internalized and become selfish and self-centered. And then you will self-destruct. Most people who are drowning, drown because they will not receive help. Do you know what they say to save a drowning person? You do? Knock them out. Because they will kill you on their way down. Because they've lost their mind. Everything's about self-preservation. And they're dying. And they don't know it. Come on, someone. Tell me I'm lying. When the enemy cuts you from the herd, you become self-aware. You start pulling around, and then he cuts you and sifts you. Caleb did the opposite. He said, I'm going to surround myself with the children of that generation that died off, and I'm going to help them inherit theirs while I get mine. And while he marched through the land, he walked by that hill and said, mine, mine, mine. And then one day, 45 years later, he turned around and possessed that land. I like what he did, though. He asked the commander-in-chief, he said, Joshua, do you remember that promise? It's time. And we act like, I want to tell you something. I am 52 years old, and we have a financial plan as of lately because I was too young and dumb and spent all of our money when we were younger. 52, and we have a plan, and we're moving forward to possess that. You know what? I've got to be careful because time is not on my side. But what I can do is everything has to be a move that God ordains. You see what I'm saying? Not that I'm not afraid to fail, but I got to know God's in it. And I got to keep moving forward because one bad move could set me back years, and I will never recover. Come on, someone needs to hear this. See, it doesn't matter that you're old. You can still have what God says you can have. You have to possess it. I love this verse in verse 8. It says, they encountered the opposition. It said the people's heart melted. But after 45 years, Caleb's heart burned. Give me somebody on the music. 45 years after people's heart melted, Caleb's heart burned. I love this. As I am strong this day, as I was in the day that Moses sent me, and my strength was then, even so my strength now, for war, both to go out and to come in. Now, give me my mountain. Give it to me. God, I love that statement. I'm not going to lie to you. While I was saying that, I heard R.W. Shambach say that. I bet you he preached that before. Caleb had passion for the manifestation of his promise. Do you hear that? He said, my heart is on fire. He had a passion for it. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Whatever you have passion for will manifest in your life, good or bad. Whatever is manifesting in your life is because you have passion for things. I'm not talking about sickness. I'm talking about things manifesting in your life. Whatever you passionately burn after, you have manifested in your life. Someone told me a while back, I'm in love. I said, be careful. You got a history. You got a track record. And they was like, but I'm in love. And I said, and you're doomed to repeat. Because you haven't learned that love is a choice. Most people never fall in love. They fall in lack. They fall in lack. I'm lonely, and there they are. I can't pay my bills, so I'm going to marry somebody. I crave intimacy, I'm going to marry somebody. Am I right? But Caleb said, I'm going to help everybody get theirs. I'm going to burn for my promise until the time comes where I walk into it. But the deal is, I promise you, those Nephilim, those spiritual beings in that land knew. Now I'm going to, let me give you history. How many want history? Remember when they went in the land that said, we saw giants over there? The sons of Anak? And grapes were as big as, huge. But those big giants there, we were grasshoppers in our own size. Watch. When they came back with that report, that's when Caleb said, that's my mountain. They came back with a report. They went to that mountain and they spied it out. And everybody was afraid to take it. But Caleb, who was an orphan, been adopted into the tribe, that's when he made up his mind. Hey, that's the piece of land I want, the one that everybody was afraid of. You know why? Because the biggest grapes are there. The greatest inheritance there. Hello, listen to me. The enemy would not be fighting you if the promise wasn't huge. Wherever he's warring against you at is where the promise is. Caleb knew it. He said, I'm going to take that hill because that's where the devil is. And if the devil wasn't there, there wouldn't be something good there. Come on, someone. I love that. He burned for it in his physical body, manifested it. He burned for it spiritually, and his physical body manifested it. It would not fail him till it was fulfilled. And every time he passed by that mountain, his heart possessed it. He not only had the strength to obtain his promise, but helped deliver those who came through that had no strength. Listen to this. I love this. When the Holy Spirit gave me this, he burned in his spirit and his physical body manifested it. And he said, I'm strong today. See, if we can burn, see, we don't have, I love this. We don't have to burn out. We can just fade away. You just walk on with the Lord. See, we don't have to live lives where we just suffer and suffer and suffer. Life is that. But you have to make your moments count. Let's stand. Make them count. Resist the urge to self-enclose. Possess what God has for you. Possess it. I love that. One thing the Lord showed me about Caleb was he was not selfish. He was not overbearing about his gifting. He was like, let's just war. For 40 years, you never heard another thing about Caleb until it come time to get his. And he was a strategic military leader. And every time they fought, there was different ones that said, this son of this one came up and defeated them here. This one came up here and defeated them here. This one came up and defeated him here. And then it said, and when Joshua defeated the 10 kings, he laid the kings down on the ground and let common people step on their neck. You know why? So common people would know what it meant to overthrow a principality. Is everybody getting that? And you never heard about Caleb. You didn't hear Caleb's exploits. Caleb this. Caleb pressing Joshua. Come on, I want my hill. Come on, give me mine. Give me mine. Give me mine. Do you know what I am? Do you know what? He didn't even care. He just fought alongside. And then when it was time to take his, he took it. See, some of us are worried about getting too old. We're worried about drying up. We're worried about, can I get mine? And we've launched out without maturity. We've launched out without support. We've launched out without spiritual integrity, and we've failed. The church world's full of it. How many seen the stories coming out about big ministries that are failing? You know why they're failing? Because ministry is more important than their spiritual growth. A person sent me something and reminded me this the other day. And I'm not bashing Jimmy Swaggart, but when Jimmy Swaggart fell, he was told months before he was caught to step down by a friend, and he wouldn't do it. And when they interviewed him, a Christian network had interviewed him. They quoted him as saying this. He said, my ministry and the people that depend on me would crumble in the year that the Assembly of God said for me to step down. He said, I would not have a ministry. I would not have finances, my livelihood, my children's income, my legacy. All of it would fail if I stepped down for a year or two to do this. So what happened? Jimmy just kept going until they physically caught him. And then his ministry failed. So when they went to bring him into accountability, Jimmy split and started his own. Now, he's successful today. He saved his financial empire. He saved it. But I'm going to tell you this. I look at Jimmy different today because you know why? Jimmy thought he was too big to fail. And you're never too big to fail. You're never too big to say, I need help. And you're never too big to say that what my gift is greater than accountability. You can go start your own church because you don't want to be accountable to anybody. You can change your service to Thursday night, Friday night. Someone told me, said, if you hear from God, you'll change your service to Friday night. I said, I change my service to Friday night from Sunday, I'll lose everybody I got. I said, you don't live in this region. I said, those Friday night fires got like 4 people in them. And they're begging us for money because they can't support it. Because the people that go to that stuff don't like accountability. They don't like being accountable. They don't like principles. They don't like saying, hey, you need to be here. Don't you mess with me. I'll go here. You see what I'm saying? They don't build anything. And then they look at people like us who's built this and paid for it, and they're like, y'all's bound. No, sorry, I'm not bound. What we have is paid for here because we got people who pulled together and passionately built this and maintain it. Hey, I want to tell you something. I grew up in the churches that testified, I thank God for the beans I had. I just thank God for the little morsel of clothes I got on my body. And you know, we all shouted about that because God's a provider. But you know what? I want people around me who thank God that they came out of poverty And they're not just scraping the bottom of the barrel. You know what? I went into Walmart the other day, and I can remember going into Walmart, checking my bank account, calling the bank, because we didn't have smartphones back then, calling the bank on the landline before I left, asking how much money I had in my account so I could go buy what I needed, toilet paper, soap, deodorant. And I mean, I was penny pinching. I mean, I was counting in my head, had my calculator out, going into Walmart trying to figure out, you know what I'm saying? How many's ever got up there and you got too much? You say, put this back. Put this back right here. The other day I was in a grocery store and a woman was there and she's like, had a few things and I could tell what she's doing just like what I used to. And the Lord spoke to me and he said, you remember when you used to do that? And I said, I remember when I was that guy. And I stood there and watched her and I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. And all of a sudden, got to the end and that woman told her how much it was and she said, let's just start taking this back. And she's taking her groceries back. What her dinner, her kids were sitting there, and she's taking part of the dinner back. They was just going to cut the dinner. You know what I'm saying? Eat spaghetti without spaghetti sauce, you know? Just put this back, put this back, put this back. And, you know, I didn't even tell Chrissy because I know she don't care. But, you know, I said, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't know this girl. You know what? Here's the truth. She could have made a horrible decision that cost her money. She could have been getting $10 nails. I didn't see $10 nails on her. Her hair didn't look done. You know what I'm saying? There's some people that are poor for a reason. You know what I'm saying? You're poor. Okay, never mind. You'd rather look good driving down the road than have food. But anyway, that didn't look like her. But I'm sure she's made some mistakes in her life, but I'm not there to point out her mistakes. I'm there to say, hey. So they started pulling all this back. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I said, let's just put all that back in there and let me buy all of this. And it's like $32.18. I said, let me buy all of this. No. I said, let me buy it all. I said, I used to be you. And I said, I thank God I'm not anymore. God help me and he'll help you. And you know what? Bought all that food, rung her out. That girl looked at me and she said, that was the nicest thing I ever seen in my life. And I said, I didn't do it to be nice. I did it as a remembrance that I'm not that guy anymore. But I could be that guy tomorrow by overspending. I'm not going to lie to you. It could happen. How many want to possess your mountain? How many want to fight till you get it? Come on, fight till you get it. I want to run. You know what I feel like the word is we talked about? New Year's, the word for this year is finish. Finish. Learn to finish. You know what I'm saying? Get up, make your bed. I don't want to see some of y'all's bed because I know it ain't been made in a month. Pick your house up. Clean your house. Get that nasty out of your house. Get those dust balls, hair balls, cat balls, dog hair balls out of your house. Get it out of your house. Take the trash out. Do all this. Clean it up. Clean your car out. Get me in the car with y'all, and I've got to move all your cups out of the way before I get in the car. Just scrape them under the seat. Clean that car out. You know why? Because you're getting ready for somebody. Come on. Yeah, some of y'all go on a date, y'all spruce up, shave those legs about that long. Shaving, getting it done, cleaning up. You got a date that weekend, you start cutting down on food because you want to slide in those pants. Why don't you do that before? Get ready for somebody. You know what I'm saying? I want somebody that's prepared for me. I want somebody that's waited for me. I want somebody I looked at someone one day, I said, I have waited for you. Not a girl, y'all. A ministry partner. I said, we waited for you. We are here. You know, I've waited for you. I didn't pursue, I waited for you. Come on, Chris, I waited for you. Tanya, we waited for you. All of y'all, we waited for you. We prayed. I didn't just marry up, covenant on anybody. I run with who I had, but I waited on you. God has waited on you to come into this season, to take what's yours. How many want that mountain? And it ain't money. It possesses money. It isn't a man, male or female, but it possesses the male and female. It's a God promise. How many want your God promise? You want to burn and be zealous in your spirit. I need that. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I need that. Sometimes we forget. Romans 12 and 11 says, never lag in zeal. Burn with the Spirit. How many's tired of lagging in zeal when it comes to God? You want to burn in your spirit this morning. I want you to just give me something heavy, something good. We ain't got enough music up here. Give me something heavy and good. I want you to line up right here. We're just going to anoint you, have our people come up here and begin to pray over you this morning. We want something good to come up on you this morning. All right? Oh, I like that, Cody. Come on. Wow, that was good. I want you to just line up and come over this prayer team right here. Come on, we're going to go a line. Everybody line up this way. We're walking through here. They're going to pray for you. Those that are standing up there, just walk over and touch the person in front of you and begin to pray for them right now. Thank you, Lord. So we just released the fire of the Lord, the spirit of burning inside of you this morning. We reconnect you to your God promise. We pull down every deferred hope, every bit of, Father, imaginations that's pulled us away from the kingdom, and we release the fire of the Lord that comes in and redirects us and shifts and turns our passions into the kingdom purpose. Father, open our spiritual eyes that we sense and feel the spiritual purpose of heaven right now. God, that we grab a hold of it, that we see it, Father, and enjoy it, and we burn and run after it this morning. Father, we thank you for this. And we're just going to begin to lay hands on you individually, and I want you to receive that promise this morning. Ask the Lord, where is my promise? What's it connected to? Let me run into it this morning.